What is up, everybody? I guess it's time to make another video, and it's gonna be a bit of a voiceover. What is a voiceover for a drawing that I made a couple of weeks ago? But it's actually a week ago to be exact. And I was inspired by Kanye West, or formerly known as Kanye West, and now I believe he goes by Ye, or at least he wants us to call him Ye now. Um, so I'm gonna try to do that out of respect, I guess. um, so yeah. So he had a bunch of he's been on the news lately, as most of you um know as well. I'm pretty sure, unless you're living under a rock or whatever. Um, you know, and in a lot of his interviews, he kept saying, he kept mentioning, Elon Musk, and I think even Donald Trump, and he said something a couple of times in a couple of his interviews. I think maybe two of his interviews or more, that he wanted to, get all of the quote unquote geniuses together, and create this elite team of genius billionaires that were going to, I guess, save the world or make the world a better place. Um, of course, I thought it was stupid at the moment, and I still do think it was stupid, but at the same time, it made me, kind of think. I almost had like an idea just came to me, and what if, because Elon Musk, he's already, I guess, people think he's like a real life, Iron Man. And in fact, I believe Robert Downey Jr., who is the actor that plays Iron Man, actually studied Elon Musk. And I don't know if that's a rumor, or it's real, but I think he studied Elon Musk and copied, the character of Tony Stark, um, based it on Elon Musk, and so he's for a while he's been considered the real life Tony Stark, with the difference that Tony Stark was actually an engineer, and actually built the first prototype with his bare hands. Of course, that's a movie, right? And it's a fictional character. And by the way, I'm playing with a lighter, which is, I don't know. That's just what I do sometimes. And so um, so yeah. I mean, listen, I have my opinions. I'm gonna try to hold back my. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna tell you. I don't think any of these guys are actual geniuses, but I do think that they are considered to be, in this day and age, in the country we live in, they are considered to be, by the majority of people, geniuses, and some sort of heroes, even. Um, and that's why I, decided to, well, just make this, I guess you could say, art piece or something, based on them. Kind of like a league of superheroes that take over the United States almost, and declare, I guess, like martial arts, similar to kind of like what happened in the Injustice games, where Superman pretty much is a judge, jury, and executioner. That's the same thing I'm thinking of. Donald Trump being the Superman of this particular idea that came to me. And I made a team of superheroes, based on these guys. And Trump, yeah, he's pretty much gonna be the one that you know in my mind is going to be like the Superman, because if you think about it, to his fans, they see him as someone who has literally no flaws. He is almost like the chosen one, the only guy that can save us from the corruption and the you know uh, people that are trying to kill us or something. I don't know, the whole QAnon thing going on. It's kind of weird. But yeah, to those people, he seems to be like this, larger than life superhero, almost perfect. And who else is like that but Superman? Of course, I don't think that myself. This is why these superheroes aren't necessarily the good guys of my storyline, but I am gonna try my best to make them look as superhero-y as possible. Just because that's the way they are perceived. Um, to most of people, to be honest, there is people that kind of see through some of the stuff. But for the most part, I'm trying to portray them in a way to where they look, almost superhero, but still kind of looking like themselves in a way sometimes. Like for example, Kanye's character, he's gonna be, I don't know if I should call him like preacher boy or preacher man or something like that. He's gonna be kind of like, I guess you could say kind of like the mystic of the team, kind of like Doctor Strange or Doctor Fate, that type of character, or even Constantine, like these types of characters. And he's going to be representing that guy. But as you can see, he has a lot of the gold rings. He's actually modeled more after prosperity preacher, which is kind of like the vibes I get from him. And which is, believe it or not, contrary to what Jesus would do. um if you read the Bible, you know this. You know that Kanye and even Trump and all of these guys are the opposite of what JC would even consider being around. Um, and there's countless examples in the Bible, and maybe we should go over some of them. One of the verses in the Bible says, it is harder for um, a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter into heaven. Um, for a rich man to enter into heaven. So that it's basically saying it's impossible. And even in the standards of explaining it in a different way, because in back in the day, supposedly, scholars say that back in the day there used to be bridges that were called the eyes of needles, and these bridges were very flimsy, and a camel could not cross through unless it took off all of its stuff that it was carrying. So it's still symbolic to what a rich man has to do in order to enter into heaven. It's supposed to take out all of the stuff that it's carrying. Basically it's symbolic to taking off all the money that you have. And he says this verse to one of the disciples. I forgot which one it was, but he says it after telling a man, you know he asks him a couple of questions about the Bible. Do you know your verses? Do you know your commandments? And he says, yes. I've been following you. I've been following these ways. Since I was, I guess, a child or something like that, a kid. And Jesus tells him, well, you got one last thing to do. He tells him, what is that, master, or whatever he calls Jesus? And then Jesus tells him, well, just sell all your riches to the poor and then follow me and then come with me. And then the rich man gets sad and he's like, he just turns around and leaves. So I'm pretty sure maybe he's going to try, but Jesus knew that he wasn't going to do it. And basically that's when he said that. So he's telling us through the Bible that in order for you to become rich, you have to, in my opinion, most of the time, you have to have a love of money. And so much to the point that you start fucking people over and doing something. Not all the time, sometimes you just get lucky, but once you start, um or sometimes you even work really hard, but once you start picking up a lot of the money, you start looking at it, most humans start becoming greedy, and start to think that they're better than others because they worked harder, and stuff like that, and in the Bible it says that the love of money is the root of all evil. So not money itself, because of course currency is currency in every country that you go to, and even Jesus himself only accepted donations. So he wasn't really asking for a quota. You got to give me this percentage or that percentage. There was percentages established, but most of the time he was asking for people to give out of the goodness of their hearts, and that could be anything that a person had. And I feel like this is the way, in my opinion, that most preachers or most Christians should conduct themselves when it comes to money. Just taking donations, and that's about it, in my opinion, humble opinion, of course. Um, of course, there is a lot of people that are very greedy, and then how do the um people get fed and stuff like that? But that's another conversation. What I'm trying to say is that Jesus would hate Trump and Kanye and all of these people. Um, all of these people that we idolize here in the U.S. And I say we because I am an American. Personally, I do not idolize any of these people at all. Personally, you know, I think, I think Elon Musk is probably the biggest hypocrite here. I think, I think Kanye West is going through some stuff. He's probably the one that I'm more sympathetic for, even though he's probably the one that's being attacked the most, and he rightfully so because of the stuff he said. Um, when he was talking about his own people, when he was talking about black people, um, people didn't know what to do. I feel like some people wanted to cancel him, but the reason he wasn't canceled in at that time, is because he was attacking his own people, and it's kind of hard to um, for anybody else to say something if you're doing it to your own people. And then not only that, um, in poor communities, and in black communities, and in Hispanic communities, Mexican communities, materialism is king. And let's put it this way, and I'm not just saying this about black people, I'm saying this about my own people too. If it's gonna come between something that we want to wear, when it comes to boycotting something, most people from our communities are going to find excuses to keep buying those stuff. um and time again, you see examples over and over again. Floyd Mayweather once said stuff that was a little bit out of line as well. But people found a way to still support him and defend him. um and the same goes for Ye. He said what he said about slavery, and you know white lives matter, stuff like that. And most of us, when I mean us, the poor communities and black communities and Mexican communities, or Hispanic, Latino communities, um which it we should have all come together, but it was in black people to at least voice themselves, or it was on them to at least not buy those and make them feel the repercussions, which he probably wasn't gonna feel the repercussions because um he's already rich, so if you don't buy him, there's gonna be a lot of people that's still gonna buy him. My point is, there's not enough unity in these communities that I just mentioned, um, to cancel Kanye or Ye, um, because of materialism. Because most of us would rather, keep supporting Ye because of his music and because of his shoes and because of his clothes and because of all of that stuff that he gives us that we like, and we'd rather do that than unite together and ask for him to be canceled. And that is true, you know, not just with like I said, not just with the African American community, not just with the black community, but with the Mexican community as well. I think I will admit that maybe the the Mexican community is a little bit more united, but there's this trick that they've been doing lately, that the I don't even know what to call them, to be honest, because you could say right wing, but it's not really right wing. The extremists, I guess you call them extremists. Um, People that make excuses for racism, or make excuses for slavery, or make excuses for why George Floyd died. People like this, I guess you could say these are extremists. People that, even though you saw somebody die on video with a knee on his neck, you find a way to say, "Oh, it was fentanyl." And if you've ever been into boxing, if you've ever been into any pugilistic sport, you know that there's lots of factors that go into a fight. If you're an athlete as well, you know that you have problems going into a game or going into a fight. Maybe your elbow kind of hurts, or maybe you're too dehydrated or something, and but it doesn't mean that you're going to cancel the fight. A lot of fighters go into fights slightly injured, or and then when they lose, you know a lot of people try to make excuses for that, and they say, okay, it was because he had a breathing problem like Teofimo, or Lomachenko when he lost against Teofimo as well. I was fighting with one hand. Or Mayweather when he fought Castillo. I know some of you might not know what I'm talking about, but the point is, these are still considered excuses in the boxing world, which is most of the time, most of these people don't die. You know, but these are things that are factors, but it's not why you lost. That fight. It was because it was a factor, like I said, but it's not the real reason. The real reason that you got beat up is because you got hit a lot more. You got your ass beat, and that's why you lost. The same thing goes with the George Floyd thing. You know, was it like a fentanyl thing going on? Maybe, was it in his system? Okay, but was that why he died, or was it because there was a knee on his neck as well? So let's just think about this. You know somebody with heart problems. You know somebody with health conditions right now in your family. Why? Because people are old. People have breathing problems sometimes. Sometimes people have cholesterol. Now imagine a knee being laid on that person's neck right now, and that person dies. What are you gonna say? Are you gonna say it was because the person put a knee on his neck, or because that guy had cholesterol? It's the same shit, and it's common sense. But people aren't using their own common sense. They're just looking at, Tucker Carlson or whoever the fuck, and they're just repeating the same shit. And then when they get canceled, when Kanye gets canceled, they're like, oh, they're just speaking truth, and my hero is being attacked by the demons, and it's bullshit. Um, but these are your heroes, I guess. These are your your truth tellers. Um, but the truth is that these people, even though they may look like heroes and they may look like gods to you, um, they are very much not that. Um, and like I said before on Twitter, I will be working on a Joker type character to counter this League of Heroes. Um, that and by the way, it's Kanye is the preacher guy with the rings. Then you got Trump here in the front with the hair. Then over here with the kind of like a torch, blowtorch is the guy over here like a Spartan helmet, the blue guy. Then in the back there is going to be, a mixture of Zuckerberg with a robot. And there's lots of reasons why I did that. He's supposed to be representing, like AI algorithm type thing. And then you have our girl here that I'm gonna draw too with the hair and the braids right next to the robot here. She's gonna be representing kind of like these two things. It's a fusion of things. It's gonna be like one of these girls that pose with guns and stuff like that, and try to like, you know, I guess ponder to certain people, that don't necessarily see them as people. But she don't worry, she's gonna get kicked out by Algorithmo, who is the guy I just mentioned before her. That's gonna be his name. Is gonna be Algorithmo, and that's pretty much gonna be representing the algorithm and what the algorithm pretty much says. Um, the algorithm supports, red pill movements, extreme right wing movements. These are the things that the algorithm naturally pushes. And the reason for that is because it's because humans without consequences are the worst of themselves. And the internet is an avenue that was created for humans to say whatever they want freely without consequences. And because of this, humans have shown their ass online. Basically, that's what's going on. And an AI, if left to learn from humans freely, it's not smart enough to say, okay, these people are obviously, showing the worst of themselves because they're not. For example, let's put it this way. In the past, if you wanted to call somebody the N word, you're going to have to say it to their face. And most of the time, you're going to get your ass beat. That's how it used to be. Now, if you want to call a person a wetback or the N word, or if you want to call a person a dirty, if you want to call them a dirty Jew or something like that, just a racial slur. And I'm using all of them just so that you could see how they sound. And I imagine you have to say that to their face. But now you don't. Now you could go online, disguise yourself behind an avatar, and even pretend to be black and say, oh, I'm black and I agree with this, or some shit like that. And you don't have to suffer the consequences. And humans without consequences are the worst of themselves. And, for a long time in our evolution, if you look back into our evolution the way we are, you can see us constantly trying to be violent with the least amount of consequences. The way we invented the spear, to distance ourselves from consequences. The longer the spear, the more damage we could cause without having to be close to the person that we're causing damage to, or the creature that we're causing damage to. The same thing happened when we invented the bow and arrow, and so on and so forth. The gun, the missile, um, and the internet. Last and not, but not least, the internet. Um, and this is where we are now. Okay, so when people say, okay, the algorithm supports it, that means it's right. Absolutely not. If the algorithm, the robot can't tell, it's not human, it's stupid. And it AI as well. They've done it before. They've done experiments to where the AI is left to learn from humans, and in a matter of weeks, the AI was a racist, woman hating robot. They've done it before. They've done experiments before. So this is what happens. Then that's why people are getting canceled now, because they know that humans now are going to have to be stepping in and making the right choices. Because if we let um, the algorithm decide who is right and who is wrong, who do you think is going to win? Just look at us now. Look at all the people Joe Rogan invites to his podcast. You think he's choosing him, or the algorithm is choosing him for him? You think he's not looking at the numbers? Okay, these most of these people listen to extremists, right wing extremists. But I hope I probably lost all four of my followers. But because listen, the shit I'm talking about is probably not as exciting as saying, something as simple as so what's a good catchline that you hear these days? Wake up, or what's another one? Were those guns legal or some shit, or that's they died because they were thugs, or which really means black or something. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. But that's what inspired me to make this drawing. I'm also working on like a Joker type, you know, cholo type character, um, and and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy at least the drawings.